Hello, friends. This just felt like a really cute and amazing view. So I figured you're welcome. So I really want to talk about learning styles and what we can learn from our human design chart from a easy perspective that can give us insight into how we learn or how our kids learn, how our clients learn, how our team members learn, like just and everybody. Because this can be really, really helpful because I think what I have seen and I have experienced that people have this understanding of like, oh, well, this is like a really good way of learning. And so try it this way. And it's like, that might be a really good learning for you, a good way to learn for you, but not necessarily for me. And now understanding what is in my chart and what's at play, I see it play out now, but I see how it's played out in the past and why I've excelled in certain ways and have really struggled in others. And so it's just fun to see. All right. So if you pull out your human design chart or you pull it up on your phone or however you look at it, you want to take a look at your profile. So I am not telling you all the places. I am telling you this one place that's going to give you a really good understanding of how you go about learning throughout your life. So we want to look at profile, and profile is going to have two numbers divided. So there's going to be one number and then a slash and another number. And there's the numbers can go from 1 to 6, and there's 12 potential pairings. So if you could be a 1-3, you could be a 6-2, you could be a 4-6, you could be a 5-1. Like there's so many, there's 12 different pairings that you can have. And there'll be 1 through 6. The numbers that we're really going to be focusing on are 1, 2, 3, and 6, because 3 and 6 are kind of linked in this way. And so when we talk about those, we're really going to be talking about those together. So everybody is going to have at least one of these numbers within their profile. You may have two. You may be a 1-3 and you have both of them, or you may be a 3-6 or a 6-3 and you have two of them, or you might be a 4-1. 4-1, sorry, we're not doing fours, but you may have these numbers compounded in the sense that you have two of them, or you may only have one. So let's take a look at what these look like and how these unfold and what you can learn about how you learn through these numbers. So it doesn't matter if the numbers, the first number or the second number, it just matters if it's within there alone. Yes, the first number and the second number mean something. However, they don't mean anything in this capacity. So if you have a 1 in your profile, then you're somebody who learns through reading and learns through studying and learns through like reading lots of books or taking the class or reading the manuals or whatever the thing is, but that you love studying, you love reading, you want to understand the thing so much that you can not only take it apart, but put it back together again, and likely put it back together better than it was before. So the thing with the 1, so the 1's called the investigator, apt, right? Is that when you go into your learning zone, you become pretty introspective. So you likely are going to pull away from the world, from your partner, from the community, in order for you to like dive into learning. And that is perfect. That's how you're meant to do it. Allow yourself to do it. However, understand that there's this other number that is there to balance you. So if you're always in a whole reading and learning and doing the thing, then likely you're imbalanced. And there's this need for this other number to kind of bring you back. So when you have a 1, 1s are people who tend to love instruction manuals. And when you buy something, you want to read the instruction manual before doing the thing, because that's how you do it. And like, how would you know what to do if you didn't read the instruction manual? Like, it's all right here. And there's another number that's like the opposite of that. And so understand that if you're a 1, you want, like, the instruction manual makes you feel really good to read, like, allow yourself to read it, but don't judge other people who are like, this is a waste of time. I want to do it a different way, because you guys are likely different in how you learn. So when you have a 1 in your profile, you need to allow yourself to dive into the information in whatever way, shape, or form it might look like. A lot of times it's books, a lot of times it's courses, a lot of times it's more tangible things, but it might be listening to podcasts, listening to books. But it's allowing yourself to dive into that information and know that you, like, are absorbing it and learning it as you do it. The thing that you need to be mindful of is that you don't allow yourself to get so into the, like, well, there's more to learn. I don't know enough yet. No, like, there's still all these things I don't know about it yet. So I can't help people with it because I don't know it all yet, or I can't apply it, or I can't da 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 da. Like, be mindful of what you're thinking or what you're saying about the information you've already taken in. And if you're limiting yourself with it because there's still more to learn, there's always going to be more to learn. And so one of the things that you have to get really good at learning is when to then start to apply it. And the other numbers in your profile will likely help you in understanding how you're meant to apply it and where you apply it, or maybe the topics you want to apply it to or learn about. But that if you allow yourself to be only in the 1, you're never going to really use that information into the world. You're just going to steel trap it and just keep it for yourself forever, and not actually give it to the rest of us who could fully benefit from it. So that's the 1. The 1's like, I want to learn, I want to read, I want the instruction manual, I want to, like, learn all the things about it and then go apply it. The 2, so the 2 can be a little bit difficult, and I can speak to it from a personal perspective. But the 2 is called the hermit, and the 2, it has inherent gifts. So if you have a 2 in your profile, you came to this earth with inherent knowledge. You already have it. It's already within you. However, in order for it to come out, you have to become self-absorbed in your own process. You have to spend time alone doing your own thing in order for these gifts to come to the surface. Hence why it's called the hermit. You have to give yourself that alone time and, like, really dive into who you are, what you're about, what feels good for you, in order for there to be space, essentially, for these gifts to come to the surface. Also, there's likely things that just come really easily to you and you don't really understand why. Likely comes from here, and you just unconsciously don't know about it. Now, personally, for example, one of my gifts that comes from the 2 is animal communication. It's not something I always knew I could do. Maybe I could, I just wasn't consciously aware of it. It wasn't even something I knew was, like, a thing until like 5 years ago. And I was like, oh, this is, like, actually a thing. Like, okay, let's talk to him. Like, let's figure out what's going on. And it was that led me into this whole thing. But it was during that process that I really started to get really internal about myself and really wanting to understand me and really spending time with myself and really meditating and really be not shying away or shoving down emotions or things that were uncomfortable, or maybe just, like, not as much as I used to, and was really confronting things, was taking responsibility, was really, like, shifting my life and stepping into my authenticity. And it was through that there was then space for these things to come to the surface and opportunities for these things to come to the surface. So that's one that's, like, a really tangible, big one that I can see for myself, that, like, oh, I see this process. Like, I became self-absorbed, not in, like, a selfish, negative way, but in, like, a really healthy way of wanting to understand myself. And through that, these gifts started to appear, and they just came so naturally, and it just became, like, second nature. And the thing with these, if you're like, I have a 2, I have no idea what it is. First of all, are you self-absorbed are you giving yourself time alone? Are you diving into who you are? Are you creating space for there to be these gifts that come to the surface? And are you allowing yourself to essentially follow the breadcrumbs? Because there may be breadcrumbs that you don't understand where they're leading, and yet they lead you to this. The other thing is, if you're like, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm like, I meditate and I spend time alone and I dive into myself and I'm really like, I'm comfortable with myself and I'm still not really sure what these things are. Then you want to start to take note of, what are the things that you like to do by yourself alone? And that if you're interrupted, or when you're interrupted, that's really destabilizing, or it's really frustrating, or it makes you really bitter, or like insert your not self theme here, because likely that thing that you were doing by yourself when you were interrupted has something to do, that like frustrated you, has something to do with your gifts here. It's one of the reasons why I don't do human design. I don't do animal communication live or in person. I have done it, and it's not that I can't do it. It's just that I'm not as connected and it doesn't feel as good. So I just don't do it, because my animal communication comes from the two. The two likes to be alone. Doesn't mean you have to be alone. Like, it doesn't mean it means whatever it means for you. However, for me, I want to be by myself. I want the session to go however it's meant to go, without outside influences, like breaking the flow, if that makes sense. And so that's how I set it up. That's how I do it, because that gift wants to be alone. So hopefully that makes sense. Also, the gifts that come with the two are likely things that are very difficult for you to teach others, because you're like, I don't really know. I don't know. Like, it just like, this is what I do. And this is what happens. Like, isn't that what happens for you too? Like, I don't really know how else to explain it. Like, if I were to try to teach animal communication to people, I mean, I would lead them through what I do. And and I would, give them lots of different ways of trying it. However, I can't give you a process or like a journey, like a path on how to like get there specifically, because this is how it works for me. And I know enough animal communicators that it works differently for everybody. And so telling you that this is the path that leads you there feels not full. It feels like it's one person's process, but there's not space for everybody to have their own process, if that makes sense. So for the two, you really want to give yourself that time alone. Your part of you is the hermit. So allow yourself to be self-absorbed and alone in order for these to come to the surface. Now, again, I am not giving you permission to like recluse from the world. That's not what the hermit's about. So again, it's finding that balance. Just like the one pulls away to learn, the two pulls away to allow the gifts to come to the surface. Both are not meant to be alone forever, just in different periods for different parts of their life, or like different like times. And then the 3 and the 6, because the 6 is a little complicated in the sense that there's like these 3 parts to their life, and part of their life they live as a 3, and therefore this is inherent in anybody who has a 6. So if you have a 6 or a 3 in your profile, then so the 3 is called the martyr, which I don't love because everybody has basically negative connotations with that word. And the 6 is called the role model. However, the martyr is within the 6. So anyway, that's complicated. You don't really need to know that. All you really need to know is if you have a 6 or a 3, you learn by doing. So where the ones like, yeah, let's read the instruction manual because that's what it's here for. And like, then we know how to put it together. The 6 and the 3 are like, well, that's a waste of time. Like, why would we do that? We can just figure it out on our own. Like, it can't be that complicated. Like, I'm sure we'll just figure it out, because the 6 and the 3 learn by doing. If they read something, they're not actually really going to know it until they do it. There are people who need to get their hands dirty. They need to do it. So if they're watching, so I'm thinking of like a horse clinic because that's just like in my life right now. But so they're at a horse clinic and they're watching somebody do a demo. They're not really learning everything from that demo. Yeah, they're seeing it, they're watching it. However, it's not going to be until they actually do it and they're being walked through it and they're doing it that they're actually learning. Because they don't learn by watching, they don't learn by reading, they don't learn by just like being a passive player. They learn by being very active in the process. So you can tell a 6 or a 3 things multiple times of like how to do something. However, unless they do it or do it with you, it's not solidifying in their brain. This happens to me all the time, especially because I also have a 6 in my profile. And there's been plenty of times at the barn where like different things I'll ask about, like how to do something. And then I just like laugh in my head because I'll stand there watching and listening to what's being shown. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I'm not taking any of this in. Like none of this is going to stick until I actually do it myself. And so it's like, yeah, great. Like, thanks for the demo, or like, thanks for the info. And I know I didn't actually take it in because I didn't do it. So if it's like, a certain horse's mash recipe, unless I do it, it's not going to retain in my brain. Or if it's a certain exercise with my horse or my animal, it's not going to retain unless I do it. And so that I just laugh about it because there's so many times where I'm like, okay, like, great. Okay. Like, can I, like, then I do it. And I'm like, I don't even remember what you said. Like, I was trying to listen. I don't remember what you said. I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. Can you walk me through it? And then I'm like, oh, got it. And then I can do it. So if you have a 6 or a 3, it's really allowing yourself to get your hands dirty and do it, because it's through doing it that you actually learn and you find your way of doing it. So if you have a 6 or a 3, it's really allowing yourself that permission and not telling yourself, oh, well, I'm supposed to do it this way. Or when you're in a situation and somebody's explaining it to you, or they're showing you something or whatever, that you can say, that's great. And can we do it together? Otherwise, like, it's not going to stick. So it's giving yourself this permission to advocate for yourself, for what works for you, for what is inherently you, what's authentic to you, and not abdicating yourself for somebody else because they're saying this is how you do it, or that's what works for them, which is great. Like, do what works for you. However, there are these different ways of learning, which of course there's other ways of, like, writing and stuff. These are like the basic ways of doing it that you really, like, we all need to take into account when we are teaching people or when we are like moving through life, so that at least at the bare minimum, we can advocate for ourselves. That likely means that Sadie is meowing at the door. So I'm going to leave it there. Look at your profile, 1, 2, 3/6. So 3 and a 6 together are going to tell you how you specifically learn, how you are meant to go through life, how you are best going to take in information and be able to move forward and use it in a way that is perfect for you. So take a look at your chart, maybe take a look at your kids' charts, like, see what is at play. It's likely why I was never great at standardized tests, because I'm like, this isn't how I learn. And then allow yourself to just try it out and see what works, see what doesn't work, become aware, and all the things. So I hope this is helpful, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.